Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead Q&A video here. So yeah, I want to answer your questions on the Walking Dead universe. So first of all, thank you so much for posting all of your questions. If you do want to take part in these Q&As, then definitely go and join the Discord. The server name is Appetite for the Dead. I'll leave a link in the description of this video. I do these every single Wednesday. I know today's Thursday, but yesterday I actually had to bring my car in, and so there was just a lot of stress with that. And so yeah, I just wasn't able to actually get the Q&A done. But since we are getting very close to the Walking Dead Dead City's premiere, I am going to be doing a lot more videos on Dead City Season 2 and The Last of Us Season 2 as well, because that show's also going to be premiering in a little over 2 weeks from now. And so I haven't been doing a lot of videos on it yet because I've just been, watching stuff to refresh my memory on the story, because I played both games, I know the story, but it's been a while, right? So it's one of those things where if I'm going to talk about it, I should know what I'm talking about, right? But I do imagine I'll probably still make mistakes here and there. But yeah, definitely make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. But let's get into the very first question here. So, Q&A, do you think Maggie will eventually kill Negan, and do you think we'll see Annie and Negan's child again? Well, I think that, in terms of Maggie killing Negan, I don't know if that will ever happen. That would be such a crazy ending for the character, but I think that it makes sense when you look at Maggie's point of view on the whole thing, right? Maybe that makes sense for her story, but I don't even really know. I think that I would want the character to go in a different direction overall. I think for Negan, for his story to end so tragically like that would be definitely something that would be, I think, very upsetting for a lot of people. And, there's always the idea that maybe Herschel kills Negan kind of thing, right? And there's some sort of revenge story there, but I just don't know if we could ever really get that. I just think that some of the characters here need to end their stories a little bit more peacefully. I imagine some characters will get, some deaths like that for sure, but I just don't see that ever happening. In terms of Annie and Negan's child, I think, yeah, totally we could see them, but it just depends. I really do feel just based off a lot of the interviews of, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Angela Kang, and just everyone in general sort of talking about that story, I feel they all had different opinions on this story. And I think as much as people liked that story overall, it was something that just wasn't fleshed out properly, I think, when it was first introduced. I always forget that he got married. To me, that's just absolutely insane that actually even happened. That's one of the things that I don't like about the final season, is that time jump right there. If you're gonna do a story like that, Annie was an awesome character, but they never gave her a lot of the story. We got one really good episode with her, but it's weird to jump forward however many months and then all of a sudden, oh, Negan's married now, right? It's just insane when I feel the character is so loyal to Lucille still, and we never got to see the character go through all of that and just process how he was feeling about going through such big things in his life, and just doing that time jump literally makes no sense. And so I feel honestly, for the writers now, they're not fans of that, and so that's why we haven't really seen the characters on the show yet, and I don't even know if we're ever going to. I think that the way that they told the story there, it was pretty easy to actually write the characters off, but I just don't know if the writers, feel the same way as of right now. But Q&A, with the theme of there's always a bigger fish, does Negan take a leadership role of Manhattan in order to break it down from within, like he did with the Whisperers, obviously under different circumstances? I like that idea. So he joins the group to be able to become a leader, and then he completely destroys them from within like he did with Alpha, right? I think that is something that maybe they are maybe doing, but I still think that honestly, as much as we're viewing Bruegel, the Dama, the Croat as the villains, I mean, Bruegel I think is separate from the Dama and the Croat, but I think that the real villains here are going to be New Babylon. Definitely I think there's going to be, some good in every group and some bad in every group, but I just feel that's going to be the group that everybody is no, we got to stay away from them because they're very power hungry and they're the ones that want, all the resources and everything. So I could see them doing a story like that for sure, but I think it's going to be one of those things where going into the season, it seems like Bruegel is going to be the villain, but I think by the end, I think there's going to be, some differences by the end where we do see New Babylon is actually the villains, or Maggie and Negan take over Manhattan, but now Bruegel is, in this place, or you know what I mean? I think things are just going to be way more unexpected than we're thinking. I do think Herschel could actually be a villain by the end of the season. And so I don't know if it's going to be as simple as Negan is the leader of this group now, and he's just going to take everything down from within. Q&A, do you think it will be cool to see a No Way Out scenario done in Dead City? I know there are millions of walkers in New York City. Something like that would be really cool for sure. I miss scenes like that. Honestly, it's incredible. But the way you get stuff like that done, honestly, is sort of the setting of the story, right? Because if you look at what happened back then, it was very much like, well, they're in a safe community, this and that. And like, while we were watching, we knew that they were in a safe community. And it was really cool to see them, literally in Alexandria safe zone. Everything was peaceful, this and that. And then you just had the walkers absolutely like, almost take over the place, but obviously not. But that was like, obviously what everyone was worried about back then. So I think that it's a little difficult to go back to something like that now, unless you made it where it really felt like the place was safe and walkers were never going to get through or whatever. And then something crazy happens like that. I think that it would be kind of difficult to do right now. But, I think with variant walkers and stuff, totally you could do something like that. If there's different types of walkers that, eventually take over a place like that, you could totally do something like that. But I don't know if you actually could do the same thing again. Q&A, do you think Negan will keep Lucille around for a season or till the end game, or is it a one season thing? This is a very good question. This is something that I'm actually, really curious about, because like, I think that you only have a certain amount of opportunities to bring Lucille back. I think if they got rid of Lucille this season, that's a big mistake, because then you can't really bring the bat back in season 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever, right? Like, it would just be kind of ridiculous to like bring the bat back. But I think for Negan, if he likes the bat because it makes him feel more confident, it's easier for him to use in terms of like killing walkers and all of that, like that makes a lot of sense, right? And so I think he should just keep the bat for a while. Honestly, he hasn't had it in a very long time. It's kind of insane when you really think about the fact that he just hasn't had Lucille for a long time. Like after season 8, he never really had it throughout all of season 9. Like there was just little things here and there that would like, I guess tease that he would get Lucille again. In season 10, he had it for like a little bit, but it was basically like a goodbye to the bat. And then that was it. And that was years ago. So like, I think if you're bringing the bat back, keep it around for a while. Don't just make it a thing for season 2. Honestly, that would be so frustrating. I'd be very upset about that. Q&A, thoughts on the songs used in the trailer? It's been missing in other spinoffs, yet both Dead City trailers have had a song. And of course, the ending of episode 3 of season 1. Do you think Dead City will have more songs in season 2? This part of Dead City reminds me more of anything else of classic Walking Dead. Yeah, that was actually a thing that I mentioned in my review and whatnot of episode 3 of season 1 of Dead City, was that the use of the music that they're choosing is like very like old school Walking Dead, like the first 4 or 5 seasons of The Walking Dead. That it's really cool. And I think that's one of the things about Dead City that I'm really happy to see its success overall, because it's just relatable things with The Walking Dead that I think people know of The Walking Dead. Like, when you think of The Walking Dead, it's basically kind of Dead City. The Ones Who Live was really like a Walking Dead movie. I would say like you had those elements of The Walking Dead there, but it was so like just, bigger than everything else that it felt like a movie, right? It felt like very cinematic. Well, that first episode really did. Daryl Dixon, it just has a different tone overall. It's still very exciting. I still like the show a lot, but it's just not the classic Walking Dead, right? So if you're looking for that, I would say The Walking Dead Dead City has that for sure, especially with its use of, the songs that it does choose. So yeah, I definitely agree. I think that it has that going for it right now. And I'm really interested in, what it's going to be like, I guess, for the season. Q&A, now that space junk was used to begin and end Rick's time on the main show, do you think it's still considered his theme since it wasn't used in The Ones Who Live? Will it ever be used again, in your opinion? I hope so, I really do. It was a really amazing song. I think, it's hard to say because, like, you have to have the right moment for it. And when I look back at, like, its use overall, like, the very, those 2 moments there, I feel like it was almost perfect. Like, it makes no sense to almost bring it back. As much as I would want to hear the song again, I really like the fact that you heard it in the very first episode and his very last one on The Walking Dead, right? Well, for the story, obviously, I know he showed up in the very last episode, but just like for the overall story, it was just kind of perfect. And I feel like leaving it at that is just like the best thing to do. Could maybe make some sense overall, but I wouldn't mind hearing the song again. Obviously, a really incredible song. Q&A, do you think we'll ever hear Easy Street again? Oh man, this song. I don't think so. I actually think that was just a season 7 thing. I think that song is just completely done. unless, you know, Negan and Daryl ever like reunite. I mean, they will at some point, but then he plays the song or something like that. I mean, I could see something like that maybe happening, but I don't think we'll ever hear that song again. Q&A. Do you see Bruegel being one of Major General Beale's spies? Maybe that's how we get Rick and the CRM in Dead City. I really like this idea because the one thing about Major General Beale's spies is that is a thing, right? Like, he does have spies out there, but who are Major General Beale's spies? Like, obviously Gimple knows, right? So it's going to be one of those things where we're all, you know, every time we meet a new character, we're going to be wondering, you know, do they have a connection to the CRM in any way? Are they one of Major General Beale's spies? I think that it's always going to be hard to know, but in terms of Bruegel being one of his spies, I'm going to say probably not, you know, because, I mean, it depends. We have to know more about the character and like how much power he's had overall. Like, if he's known a lot of other like leaders throughout the world and whatnot over the last however many years throughout the apocalypse, then I could totally see, you know, that connection there for sure. But if he's been in hiding the whole time kind of thing, then I don't really see the connection. So we'll have to wait and see, but it definitely is a possibility, I will say, with Bruegel, but we just gotta wait until we learn a lot more about the character. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. Thank you so much for posting all of your questions. I enjoyed doing this a lot. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.